Hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream scene. We have also an episode today talking about game selection, probably one of the most frequently requested questions that we get on the show and in panels. So we finally decided to actually dedicate an entire episode to explaining game selection, when to play what game, how to look at the directory, because it's something that we talk about on the Stream Doctor, which is another show that I do here on StreamerSquare. And so we talk about it so often. It's like, well, let's just dedicate an episode to really breaking this down for you guys. So I'm joined here by my lovely co-host, the Hunter Wild. How you doing, Hunter?
Hello, my friends. I'm ridiculously prepared after streaming 38 hours of Anthem for the last 3 days, nearly 40. Ready. It is one of the obviously not everybody streams games, but Twitch being a game-centric platform, it affects almost everybody who is on the platform. It's one of the most critical topics that we all sort of fret about, like often secretly, but don't talk about nearly as often as we should. So today we're going to try and take some time to really nail down. There's no one size fits all thing. So if that's what you're looking for today, you're not going to find that here. But you probably, hopefully, you'll be finding ways to sort of critically think your way through how to select, how to make what choices when it comes to game selection, and toward what end, because different goals will require a different approach as well. And we're joined here by two magnificent broadcasters and friends of mine. Spaceboy, who always comes up in my head as Dr. Spachemin.
Attorney at law.
And exactly. And Coruscating. How are you guys doing today? Oh, and introduce yourselves. Who are you, Coruscating? Let's start with you.
I am Coruscating. Most people just call me Corey because that's easier. I am a Twitch partner, which was not true the last time I was on the show.
Yes, congratulations!
That's pretty cool. Thank you. I stream a lot of simulation games, a lot of like life sims, stuff like Stardew Valley, The Sims, and we just like to hang out and appreciate cats and other cute stuff.
A lot of cat appreciation.
And just have a good time. Yeah.
What about you, Dr. Spachemin?
I'm Spaceboy. I'm a full-time Twitch partner and variety streamer with a focus on Grand Theft Auto roleplay.
Yes.
And fun. I like fun. It's probably
Fun is good.
The main thing. Other than that, not much.
And you were talking about beforehand. You were talking about how critical. So I sort of feel like this is a fair and safe introduction to the theme and the topic. How critical game selection has been to you in particular for your success, like reaching specific milestones in your career.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I've been streaming on and off for about 4 years. I've been full time for about 3 and partnered for 1. There was a long time where I hit a lot of plateaus and just couldn't make any headway. Didn't really know why. Wasn't really going anywhere. Wasn't really moving past that whole 30, 40 viewer threshold, and didn't really know what it was I had to do. And then I kind of got lucky at one point and was just looking at what some of my friends were doing and saw how long they were sticking with the games they were playing.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, oh, I need to pick more games that I can really devote time to. So I picked Dark Souls. And 3 months later, I was partnered. I played Dark Souls for 3 months. So I feel like straight up choosing to play that game on stream led me directly to partnership. It was as simple as the right game at the right time. And Grand Theft Auto roleplay as well. Grand Theft Auto roleplay, getting in at the right time and just saying, yeah, this seems like something that could be fun. I can't believe how much my life and my stream have changed since I started doing that.
So now we'll talk about it a little bit later, but do you think, I guess just in a yes and no kind of a way, do you think that there are qualities that you can attribute to those choices, or that you could draw out from those choices to say, I think I'm better at being able to discern what's a right game at the right time
Yeah.
now. You do?
Yeah, I
You
think so. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
when
game
I-
selection is definitely a skill. Like
Yeah.
once you figure it out, and it's not like, I mean, I wouldn't say I have it mastered, but once you recognize, like, you get familiar with the directory, and you know, you could start to plan ahead what you can play, like rather than just like scrambling at the last minute, so that you can make better choices leading up to that.
Mhm.
For example, like with the Metro game that just came out, like I did a full Metro playthrough of the previous ones. I know that by doing that, I'm building an audience that likes Metro, that's gonna watch me play the new one that comes out. And also, like, it's a day that 2 other games came out. Hunter decided to play Anthem instead, right?
Yeah.
Like that's an example right there.
And
like
Far
we
Cry
just
5
made different
New Dawn
choices.
was an alternative as well,
Mhm.
right?
But yeah,
And I think there was an indie title too, if I'm not mistaken.
Crackdown came out, right? Didn't Crackdown come out?
It did. I think they all came out on the same day, if not just a couple days apart.
And this is why I have 9 launch events in 2 months. This is
Ooh.
exactly this stuff.
It's gonna
Yeah,
be a big
so
spring.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, now our advice, we're gonna try to. There's different, I think, different rules for different situations. Like, you know, for
Yeah.
being a small streamer versus like
Yeah.
being a top dog versus mid tier. Also, depending on what games you typically play. Like,
Yeah.
if I was an Overwatch streamer, I probably would not choose to play Metro, or I wouldn't. You know, it may not make as much sense because they're kind of very different games.
As well as your goals, of course, right? Like if you have no interest in creating a stream that will focus on, you know, new AAA titles that launch, like
Yeah.
why would you try to, you know, sort of like shoehorn that into the identity of your brand at some point? If you like the strategy and simulation stuff, like most of my favorite streamers, you're going to be working in a different sort of space, and that
Yeah.
becomes a selection that's also part of the brand identity.
But I think because like being a true variety streamer is so difficult to just like come out of the gate and do. Like I feel like, you know, to master being true variety, like those game selection choices, you have to, I think, start more narrow when you start streaming and kind of just expand your category of or your repertoire of games or your genres as you grow. You have more flexibility, I think.
No doubt.
And so in Coruscating, you were I got the impression that as you were ramping up toward partnership, you were very specifically curating your game selection,
Yes.
sort of in that direction without abandoning your brand identity and your, you know, the things that are fun for you. How did that game selection work?
So I played, basically I knew if I played The Sims, that's how I was going to bring in the most viewers. Cause I could almost always end up at the top of the Sims directory at night when I stream. And I've gotten the majority of my followers from The Sims. So if I go live with The Sims, I'm gonna get a lot more people just clicking on that notification and be like, yeah, I'm gonna watch this. So I knew like I really have to go hard on The Sims if I want to keep these numbers for partnership. And if like I really don't feel like I can play The Sims tonight, like maybe I can start with The Sims and then switch, or I can do a
Right.
new challenge, or like I can do something like really similar, like 2 Point Hospital, or something that my audience will still have an interest in. And maybe I can pull in some new people as well. Because getting those numbers for partnership right now is just like so important.
Yeah.
So do you primarily like play games that are just sim games? Like how often do you venture completely like out of left field from what you normally play?
That's hard because I've done a lot of different stuff. Like I'll do story driven games, but a lot of times it'll just be like I'm gonna start streaming this and see how it goes, and if it goes well, then maybe I'll finish the game, but maybe not. I do play a lot of sim stuff though. It's so easy to sink like 200 hours into streaming, so it's a good like solid choice that I can stick with for a while if I know it works.
And for brand identity stuff too, right? Is like I feel every single one of us has a heavy community and conversation focus. for our streams, and so game selection in that regard also plays a big role, right? Like playing The Sims, you can break away from the game. It's not the most intense gameplay for
Right.
with a competitive shooter where you cannot break eye contact with the game. And so then you're allowed to sort of move away from the gameplay itself and engage with the community. Another thing that was very predictable for me with going into Anthem is I can only play the game. And at certain key points, I could break away and go back and chat. But to make only selections that were moving in that direction for me would be very bad and hazardous because I love conversations. An occasional respite from that to have high intensity gameplay seems okay when I have a really secure community. But if that were constant, that would be a painful departure from from my actual goals.
Balance.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I like to do when I'm in a situation that Hunter mentioned is just like to take a break and like catch up with your stream when you're playing something that you feel like you're not engaging chat as much. Yeah. So with Metro, like I get super focus mode because it's scary, it's tense, like I'm just like navigating through the Metro tunnels. And I'll just like at the end of a chapter, I'll just like start talking to chat and take a little mini break, maybe grab a snack or something just to kind of like, because it's a part of your community. You don't want to move away too much from that. And I think that ties into game selection is you don't want to move too far from what people are used to.
But how does that work with role playing?
I've always been very, very fortunate in that the games that I play, I feel like very rarely is my chat actually focusing on the gameplay. I feel like it's the games that work for me tend to be secondary. If I can make conversation and dialogue the primary focus, the game will be very secondary, and roleplay is just it's entirely verbal. Like very little of what we're doing in the game actually matters unless we're flying out of the windshield of a car or sending someone off.
Yeah.
It's almost entirely banter back and forth. So it's barely even a game at a lot of points. It's really just more verbal. So it doesn't give me as much of an opportunity to interact with my chat, but it gives more opportunities to create content based purely on what we're saying, which I think can be big.
Now, I've seen a lot of people, a lot of streamers, people who are just starting out or somewhat up and coming, mention throughout the more of the last year that they want to do RP, and it seems like there are various reasons for that. But a lot of times these are people who haven't done a lot of RP before, but they see RP going like really fantastically, right? They see numbers skyrocketing. They're like, oh, all you have to do is put on a voice and play a character, and anybody can do that. What kinds of, so this, I feel like this is an interesting sort of conversation to have about game selection. There are a number of very popular games on Twitch that are role-playing centric. And what kinds of considerations do you think you have to make if you're for somebody who wants to start out or is a little fresher and wants to go into RP? What choices are you making for the games themselves, and what considerations do you have to have as a streamer to feel confident in doing that, or for that to be the right choice for you?
I think a lot of roleplay is confidence. Like in GTA RP, you're going to be in a server with it's 32 people per server, so there's going to be 31 other people. The vast majority of them are streamers. Some of them have literally millions of followers. Some of them are, just starting out. So a whole lot of it is really just, are you comfortable with, instead of just keeping a stream going where you're commentating a game and chatting about it, which is tons of fun. It's still my favorite thing to do. Pretty much everything you say is going to be geared towards getting a laugh or progressing a story. So if you have a creative mind and you want to build stories and play a character, that's really all it boils down to. Like, I didn't overthink it when I started. I just thought, I like making voices. I like improv. I like acting. It's fun. So how can I blend that into Twitch? And I think personally, I'm incredibly biased, but I think Grand Theft Auto is the place to do it. Like it's like life simulator. It's not a fantasy setting. It's not a sci-fi setting. So there are very few limits. You can just make a guy and see how it goes, and just put very little. You don't have to have like a detailed backstory, or
Yeah, right.
you really don't have to overthink it. I play a guy named Mel. He's an old man. And when I came on to GTA RP, I was like, okay, it's cops versus robbers. I'm going to insert an elderly man into that situation. Fish out of water. Let's see how it works. So I'd say don't overthink it and just start. Like, the only thing holding you back is probably anticipation. There's not a whole lot of. I mean, I didn't put a lot of thought into it. I just went for it.
I think another interesting thing about role playing, with game selection, it reminds me of like, okay, when you're looking through a directory and you're trying to figure out, what's popular, and you see something like GTA, one thing you need to think about is, look into why that game is popular, because a lot of people are watching GTA for the people that role play, not necessarily for like, I'm playing through the story of GTA 5 that's been out for like 5 years at this point. The same thing with games like Ark and Atlas. Like, a lot of streamers get very popular playing those games because they are role playing. So when you're looking into picking what games to play, look into more than just what the game is, but what type of content are people providing that people are watching. The same thing with Fortnite is, a lot of people watch the Battle Royale mode. Believe it or not, there is a PvE mode that actually came out before the VR. So definitely keep that in mind when you're looking through the directory.
That's true. There was a point at which I was at the top of the Fortnite directory when it launched in PvE.
Yeah, I was actually interested in the PvE, and then the Battle Royale came out, and I feel like now, there's no way I can play Fortnite PvE even if I wanted to in that directory.
So Hunter was Ninja before Ninja was Ninja.
Yeah.
that is a really good point. Why are people watching the ones that they're watching? What is it they're getting out of that? Because there are a variety of ways to play the games. Like Coruscating, don't you do like challenge runs and stuff in The Sims?
Oh yeah.
Things like that. Like if I got into it, I would have no idea what I'm doing. I would just be trying to figure it out, and I assume that would be far less interesting to the people who are like core watchers of viewers of The Sims than doing all these crazy funky runs that you do.
And the thing with The Sims is too, so there's like 3 different modes. There's like the game mode where you're playing with your Sims like they're in a dollhouse or whatever, and then there's the like create a Sim mode where you can make them look crazy, and then there's the build mode, and everyone, like, there's some people who play The Sims and they only build. That's like all they do. And so, there's like specifically building challenges, and specifically gameplay challenges, and ones that tie in everything. So there's so many different ways to approach the game, and depending on how you approach it, like, you might attract different people and stuff like that.
So when it comes to like an existing community with things like GTA RP and Sims and RimWorld and these games that have this like persistent longevity, there's always people watching, there's always people streaming it. How much research should you be doing for that? I mean, I would always say, like, don't just jump in and just be like, I downloaded the game today and I've never seen anybody ever stream this before, and I'm just gonna play because it's popular. How much research should you research and consideration should you give to those things? I know I do a little bit of looking.
I looked through the directory on Twitch, and I take a look at do people still love this? Is this still something that people are coming in, and when they come into chat, the first thing they say is, I'm so happy you're streaming this. I love this game. Beyond that, I think directory positioning is tied in with how much you truly appreciate a game that other people appreciate. Directory positioning is like as important as it gets. You have to be visible.
That's a critical term right there.
You have to get
what is directory position?
Where you are when somebody searches up a game. because
Mhm.
the guy with the most viewers, they're at the very top of the page, the very beginning. Everybody else is second choice.
Yeah.
So to
Literally
get
how you read, right, is left to
Yeah.
right, top to bottom. And they are
Exactly.
in the top left position.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
is literally the first position
Yep.
that you can have.
So you have to know, what are my average viewers based on these people and how many viewers they have? Where am I going to be? Am I going to be in the fourth row? Am I going to be, I mean, if you're playing Fortnite, you're literally probably on page 1004.
Yeah.
But
Right.
if you average, say, 100 viewers and the top viewer on GTA 5 has 200 viewers, and then the person directly after them has 104, you're going to be right there in third place. So you are going to be quickly accessible, and it's going to be pretty easy to find you. And I really do think that when picking a game, that is, you have to get people in the door, they have to find the door, period.
Right.
And
And another thing to that is like if
technically
you're
true.
the top spot of a game that doesn't have anyone else playing it, that might not be a good choice because
Mhm.
there may not
Mhm.
be any interest to
Yeah.
watch it. So it's like a balance between not being washed into like the sea of streamers, but also playing a game that does have some people watching it and some
Exactly.
other people streaming it, because like those people might jump around, especially if like the streamer like you're in third place and the first streamer ends their stream. Now those viewers might trickle around in that directory.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Very
And that
much
was
so.
that was a big one for Retro Gaijin. Most of you know Retro. His initial critical success came from intentionally, specifically positioning himself in a directory and with his schedule around when other streamers were ending,
Mhm.
so that he would be number 2 and a streamer in a directory where there's like one streamer has 2,000 people and the number 2 person had 12, right?
Mhm.
And go in and play that game, stream that game at the time, like, and be established by 1 hour before that streamer ends. That streamer ends, and then he'd boost up by 50, 100, eventually 400, and getting those like critical. That's just super smart, challenging to work moves, because obviously you don't want to be playing something you don't enjoy just to get that boost. That's worthless. You're not going to be entertaining for those people who come in. Your viewership might go up, but if you switch over to another game at some point, they're not going to follow because they don't have a dedication to you, because you weren't entertaining, because you weren't enjoying the game that you were just trying to like milk some views from.
Exactly.
But if you can find that middle ground and look at games that you want to play, where you can have a good positioning in the directory, where somebody else gets so much potential planning that can go into it, where somebody else is higher but is going to go off while you're on.
Mhm.
You can get so much coordination with a lot of these things. Challenging to pull off, and you don't need all these things at once for sure, but they're worth considering. They're worth looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know a lot of people say like, well, isn't game choice like being in the right place at the right time? And it's like, yes, but you can make sure you're at the right place at the right time. Like, it's not just up to chance. It's not like
Yeah,
I was in the right place at the right time just because I was lucky. Like, I
right.
knew this game was going to come out with an expansion, so I started playing it before to build an audience so that I would be prepared when that expansion came out.
Going
Stuff
on a
like
date is
that.
also right place at right time, because I literally scheduled it with the
Right.
person for that place at that time.
Right.
And we had a great time doing it.
I was very fortunate with Dark Souls. The 2 top dogs in that directory are Squillakilla in the daytime, K Witty at night. And I didn't know when I was getting in that I was starting pretty much right when Squilla was ending, and I was ending right when K Witty was starting. And I think a huge, huge part of my success in that directory was I just found my spot. I found a spot where there was a demand and I was able to supply, and it was pretty simple at that point. You have to right place, right time. Like I always get a tiny bit salty when people use the term luck when talking about
Yeah.
right place, right time, because if you recognize the right place and you recognize the right time, it's not just happening, you're doing it. You're
Right.
causing it, you're helping it happen. It doesn't just happen to you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
all
there's
the luck that I
sometimes-
planned out.
Yeah.
There's sometimes when
plotted.
like you think like, oh, this is gonna be like great, and like it doesn't pan out. But
yes.
if you put yourself in enough positions, it's not gonna matter in the long run.
Right.
You
Yep.
will
Sure.
be in the right
Law of
place at the right
averages.
time at some point.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. And now, Corey, you mentioned, trying out different games, and if it doesn't do well, you back out of it. How often do you guys pull away from things when the numbers aren't there?
I try
have
to
no
give it
fear
about a
about
month.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It could be. It could
I
be
mean, you're a
today.
badass.
It could be today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
So
I
you
even
guys
had
aren't afraid to, like, even if you're enjoying it, like, how much does that matter between, like, you're having fun with it, but it's like tanking your stream, or like it's doing really well, but like you're just kind of like losing enthusiasm?
That's a tougher one.
For
Yeah.
me, like every choice I make is about my community, and like that's just always been the center of my stream. I got really excited about it when I realized I could build a community. So if I stream and like no one or very few people show up, I'm like, I can just play this off stream and I can sit around in my underwear and like eat Cheez-Its while I play it. And that's probably going to be just as
Cheez-Its
much
off my
fun.
belly.
Like, and then I can play something on stream that like my friends will actually enjoy watching me
Where
play.
you're coordinated
Yeah.
and actually
Right.
performing for that
Right.
for that goal. Yeah, absolutely.
way back, I had a friend who had games that he called vacation games. He'd try them on stream, he'd play it, and if his community wasn't into it, if it wasn't working, that became a vacation game that you would
Mhm.
play completely outside of your stream, just disconnect it. And I like that attitude a lot, because there's certain games where I know, like, I may love it, I may be having a lot of fun with it, but that fun is coming from playing it, not streaming it.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
Yeah.
Apex. Like if I were to dive into
Oh,
Apex
that's
right now,
critical.
it's just there's no way I'd be able to set myself apart from the thousands of people playing that. So the fun wouldn't be in streaming it, because that's half the fun, trying to find ways where you're unique and find things for your community to take pride in. Like, oh, I'm watching this streamer because they do this. And if I were to play something that popular, that just wouldn't happen,
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
I
I
really like these
go ahead.
points that you guys are making. Oh, sorry, I didn't know. You keep going.
No, I could go forever when we're talking about streaming.
He
half
needs
the
a cut
time
off.
You're gonna have to cut
I didn't
me
mean to
off.
interrupt. I'm sorry.
I
I just
am
got really excited.
long-winded.
I didn't want to cut you off because I wanted to say, like, what you guys are saying is so important. Like, I think a mistake a lot of people make is they're like, people, you see it all the time on Twitter. It's like, oh, just play the games where you're having fun. Like, just have
Mhm.
fun. Like,
Mhm.
streaming is just about fun. But it's like, you can, like, it is not a bad thing to stop playing a game because it's not doing well for your channel.
Mhm.
Like, sometimes, like, you got to be smart about that stuff. And sometimes, take the hit if you're really having a good time.
Mhm.
But recognize there are some games that just aren't going to be great for streaming, but depending on either the category, your numbers, and how you make something entertainment. Like for me, for example, a big example for this is like playing like CRPGs, like Pillars and stuff like that are really, really lengthy. I will play it for like a day or two, but then I'm like, I can't keep my community engaged with like these intricate stories. It's very slow.
Yeah.
Like it's just not for me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'll try it, and then I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna move on. But it's not because I hate the game or anything, but it's just like I
Right.
recognize it's not gonna help my stream.
Yeah, I was talking to someone about game choice recently and how I approach it, and they said, like, I was saying, like, I consider, fun, obviously, but also how it affects my channel. And they were like, well, that's not what gaming is about for me. And I'm like, that's fine for you, but like for me, I don't look at gaming and streaming as the same thing. They're very distinct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I would not put this in the same category.
I play Overwatch off stream all the time. I have streamed it like twice because
Yeah.
it's just not a good stream game for me. It's not the content that I want to create. It doesn't do good things for my channel. So I will enjoy it so much offline, but it's just not going to be a stream game for me, like ever.
Some of the
That's
most fun
fine.
games for me are the ones where I'm dead silent because I'm that
Right.
involved and enthralled in the game, and that's super fun. Nobody wants to watch
Right.
me be dead
Yeah.
silent.
Yeah.
I think a huge part of game choice is picking a game that lets you showcase what you think the best parts of you are.
Absolutely.
To be able to dial up your favorite parts of yourself and your personality and what makes you a good streamer to 11. And like, say what I'm doing on roleplay. If what I like about me and my stream is that I'm talking constantly, and then I go play Escape from Tarkov and I'm glued to my monitor, not saying a word, I don't get to showcase myself. Anybody coming in from the directory, they just see a guy playing Tarkov. They don't know who I am. They don't know what I like about myself because I'm just not showcasing it at all. What's worked for me and what's helped me grow and succeed is just not happening when I play that game.
I'm totally with Coruscating on this, specifically with Overwatch too. Is like I love playing it, but I cannot perform well with that game as a streamer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it's like if you're not a pro in Overwatch, then you have to make it entertaining. And like I feel like games like that where you're trying to be competitive, it's not going to be that entertaining when you're like getting salty and like you're like, oh god.
Yeah, and then I can just get like stressed because I can't read as much chat as I want to, and it's like play it all fine.
And as a self-confidence thing too, like if you become aware of the fact that you're less entertaining, again, as fun as that game may be, you're now ruining your own fun with it because you feel that impetus to perform and the anxieties that come along with being concerned that you might not be doing that well enough. I mean, that's a great way to ruin a game that you have fun in, is to now associate that with poor performance as a streamer. You know, so merely selecting something based on fun, I think it's a poor choice unless it's purely about hobby, or there are some times when I feel like a stream may need a refresh and a reset. And it could be very bad for the metrics, but very good for the long-term goals of the stream and the identity of the stream, and you as a streamer to get just sort of revivified, and to take a 2-week break. That, again, admittedly, totally probably going to tank those metrics. They always have for me, and I've always come out the other side much happier. Because I chose to play something that I wanted to showcase something different with, or that I really wanted to be entertained myself and sort of go like, hey, are you guys seeing the same fun in this that I'm seeing? Let's talk about that thing in a very different way than we are when I'm doing like a game review for a AAA title that just launched, right? I do that all the time. It's like, here are the critical values, like here's my critique, here's the UI issues and blah, blah, blah. It's like, hey, here's what's just childlike glee about this game. Don't you guys think so too? And sometimes that means abandoning some of the other, like the hard metrics and those other sort of surface goals to get a refresh to that, but only temporarily. Only temporarily.
So how's a slingshot work? You pull it back and you take a dip and then you propel forward. And that's pretty much exactly what I'm doing with RuneScape right now.
It's true.
GTA roleplay and then RuneScape. Two wildly different things. So the people who watch me roleplay don't necessarily want to watch me play RuneScape. However, when I play RuneScape, I adore it. And people come in from the RuneScape directory and they adore it. And so it causes, like if you do variety and you play two wildly different games, you might split your community a little bit. However, there's going to be people that just show up for you. So even though you're pulling back, you're definitely preparing to launch forward, but like you have to wonder, how long can I pull back for? How long can the metrics dip before I make a change or expect to start seeing a rise? And I think that can be pretty tough too.
I think there also is one of the things I've been considering more that I haven't unpacked fully is a friend of mine who has had significantly lower numbers in order to achieve a very specific goal has realized, I have realized in watching this sort of play out, that there's a very clear identity in the core community where now that it's sort of distilled down to the people who just want to be there to watch that streamer do whatever it is that streamer's doing, as opposed to all the questions that streamer had beforehand, going like, how many people are here for me? How much over the top performance am I having to do day in and day out, and it's exhausting? How much of it is because I'm just playing this game? That streamer has lost a lot of the numbers, but I feel has really gained an opportunity to gain confidence in the heart of that community. You can see that it never dips below a certain number, and it's always those same people who have been coming back throughout all those streams and going like, "Yay, you're on again!" And seeing that, and then moving from that and having that as knowledge and sort of identity defining. Moving that into another game that's more productive, then you see the numbers on top, but you're still seeing those same people, and you still always know that that's the heart. You don't have those questions anymore in the same way. So game selection can work toward that end as well in an interesting way.
Yeah, this is kind of the issue that single game streamers I think run into, where
Yes.
they get really popular from one game and they're riding that, but eventually they want to branch out, and it's tough. Like, you're going to have to expect to lose a huge part of your audience. It's I think a lot of single game streamers struggle with this because they don't want to take that hit, but they need to branch out, but they don't know how to do it. Like, how do you move away from just being like a single game streamer?
Well, it's sort of what Corey was talking about earlier with the sampling thing of like start with your key one, right? Corey, you were doing with the Sims. You're like, I don't know. I want to start doing some of this other stuff here throughout but I don't know if it's going to be a strong start if I start with that other game.
Yeah, and I think also just like asking your audience what they would be interested in, and don't always weight like that too heavily, but take it into consideration. Like, what games would you like to see me play? And think yourself, like, which games are similar, which games have overlap, like as far as content goes and communities, and try to like make it an easier switch rather than like going from like being an Overwatch streamer to streaming only Stardew Valley. Like, that might not work super well. So yeah, just think about like what will make this easiest, and then also talk about it when you're streaming like your main game, and make people aware that you are going to be playing other things in the future, so they're not surprised when that happens.
Sort of as part of that, an extension away, how much switching is too much switching?
That's a good question.
We talked about this a little bit, like with the, you have your, I don't know, your Overwatch Thursdays, and then your Sim Fridays, and then your sampling indie Saturdays, right? And then like having this like you're playing 1,000 different games. Like, is there sort of an optimal and an ideal? Is there too much? Where is that line? Is there too little? Which I don't think there's probably not too little, because you can dedicate yourself to one game and have that be very successful for quite a bit of time.
I know when I first so I started as a Stardew Valley streamer, and then I kind of added like more indie titles. I did like Don't Starve, and I don't remember exactly, but like at one point I started RimWorld and Cities, and I felt like I had to be playing those games all the time, or like I would lose the people who were coming just for that
Right.
game. So I would be like, today I have to play this game, and I have to play this game within the next week, or I'm never going to see these people again. And then I eventually realized, like, I'm playing a different game every single day, and it's just not working. And like, maybe I will have to say goodbye forever to some people who only come around for certain games, but that happens, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, unless you literally want to play that game until you're 90.
Right.
That is something that you have to accept somewhere in there, yeah.
I think Twitch is very often a revolving door. There's going to be people that show up no matter what you do, but if you are variety and you're switching games, there's going to be there's just no way around it. There's going to be people who want to watch a specific game. That's what it's about.
Yeah, simple reality, yeah.
Yeah, I think I was struggling pretty hard when I was switching games just constantly, like a different game every day. I think when I committed to variety with an anchor, like having a game that is there on a consistent day-to-day basis, no matter what. Like right now for me, that's roleplay. I start with roleplay every day, no matter what, because that's what my audience knows. That's what it's become, a comfort zone. And I can switch to something later on, but it's less drastic. It's more, okay, we've done the main thing that we've become known for the last several hours. Let's add on a little frosting and do something a little different. And that frosting later on down the line can work its way down and become the main thing you're doing.
Yeah.
But it has to be gradually introduced, in my opinion. That's what's worked for me. I think it needs a smooth transition.
Right. And another thing is, when you're playing a new game and you're getting that new audience, like, you do want them to come back. And so you shouldn't just switch to a different game the next day. You should definitely, if you're enjoying it, it's doing well for you, try to stick to a game for a couple of days in a row, because the thing is, even if you plan on moving away from that game eventually, you want to be able to have an opportunity to build some loyalty with those people. Because
Right.
yes, initially right now, those people that find you are there for that game. So if you come back the next day, that person's coming back. Now they're going to start to get attached to your community. They start seeing the same faces. They start to get your personality. They finally, on the third day, they follow you on Twitter and join your Discord. By the fourth day, maybe you are playing something else, and then they come and they check you out on something different.
Yeah. I mean, like, there are always those people who they tune into your stream like the first time and they're just instantly like, oh yeah, I love this place. Like, they're super involved and they come back every day. But
I got
like, that's
home.
not the overwhelming majority
Yeah.
of the people who make up your community. Usually I like to think of like the game as kind of clickbait. Like, people are gonna come for the game and then hopefully like a lot of them will stay for me, but I need to give them some time to get used to me and my community before
Right.
they're gonna do that. Otherwise, they're just gonna go to whoever else is playing that game tomorrow.
Yeah, for me the game is discount tacos, and then I am the double priced drinks.
All
Right.
So it's like, hey, come in and
There
watch
you
the
go.
game, discount tacos. Stay for the way overpriced beverages. Yeah, it gets things that will get people in the door.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, a lot of to these points, you know, that you should never confuse a follow with any real sense of commitment, right? Because somebody hit the follow button doesn't translate at all.
That's why
into,
follow
like, they
for
wanna
follow
marry
doesn't
you.
work, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, exactly. I mean, if you look at anybody's follower count versus their view count, there are varying degrees of difference.
Across
but
the
it's
board.
significantly different every time. There's a big difference with every single one of those. So somebody coming in the first time, they might go like, "Hey, this is pretty cool." You know, just like meeting you at a coffee shop. They're like, "Hey, you're kind of cool. I wouldn't mind seeing you again. I wouldn't throw hot coffee in your face if I did." You know, if I saw you again. That's that first day kind of impression with a lot of people. If they get to come back again because they're like, "I still like this coffee shop and you're also okay," then maybe day 2 you get to strike up another conversation again, right? This is the second day they've come in because you're playing the same game. And they're like, "Oh, I do like it a little bit more here. Oh, they do that other thing they weren't doing yesterday, or the community is conversing in a slightly different way, or, oh, I got to see this warmth that they give when somebody's having a bad day today," right? It's like exposing them to more of the cool stuff that you do. You get that when you play for at least a few days
Mhm.
in a row when somebody showed up, after somebody showed up.
Consistency creates comfort. We're people. We naturally don't like change. So variety streaming is a little counterproductive and a little ass backwards. Can I swear?
Yeah, in that way,
Is that a
yeah.
thing? Because
Permission granted.
wonderful. So
One time though, you already used deer one time.
time?
So sorry.
I'm checking it
That's
off.
So you have to find a way to establish consistency and comfort in a sea of things that are rapidly changing. If you play 7 games in a week, there's you know, the only consistency is that you're inconsistent and you're switching things around. So if you give someone an opportunity to establish a familiarity of,
Yeah.
okay, he's played the same game 3 days in a row, might not be here tomorrow, but I've enjoyed it the last 3 days. It's a lot more than just watching it once.
Mhm.
Right.
And we
I
kind
mean,
of talked
even-
about, go ahead.
No, you go ahead first.
Just like we talked about this a little bit earlier, but the type of content you're creating,
Mhm.
making that similar between games is
Yes.
like important to making people feel comfortable and like keeping your stream consistent. Like, if you go from playing a chill single player story game to competitive multiplayer to a puzzle game to a strategy game, like, that's probably very different types of content. And
Yes.
people, even though people are there for you and they love you when you're getting super salty in League of Legends.
Yes. I mean, that right there is a struggle for me, but it's one that I've had to accept because I know that I have a bigger goal that involves playing a larger variety of streams. So I have to accept that I'm going to lose people between wildly different games.
Mhm.
Last game that I streamed before Anthem was Astroneer. which is a calm, soothing, the smoothest of rides indie title, you know, with like a beautiful art style, very slow and kind of quiet. And then go right into Anthem, where it's like boom and lighten up and everything's bright and
Right.
explosions and it's, you know, it's a shooter, and you know, I'm super, you know, engaged. Wildly different type of thing that's going on there. But I personally have to accept that for myself, because I have other goals that I'm
Right.
fulfilling with that.
Mhm.
And I think that makes it important, but I don't think that most people should do it my way. I think
Yeah.
it's very often counterproductive. It goes
Mhm.
against what most people's goals are and should be.
So as like a smaller streamer, how should you pick your games? Like what should you be looking for in the directory, and how should you switch between games?
I have a first and foremost on this one, semi-hyped indie titles. That's been my
Yeah.
go-to recommendation for
Yep.
4 years. Semi-hyped indie titles where maybe a couple of other big streamers are interested in playing it. They've talked about it a little bit, and or you've seen there's been a lot of conversation about it, especially in your community. Nothing better tells you whether or not people are going to watch than people in your community talking about the game. And there's a little bit of hype to it, but it's an indie title, so it's not going to have Shroud coming in, you know, with 8
Right.
million people sucking up the top spot and so on.
Yeah, and to go off of that, when I started streaming, I was a Stardew Valley streamer, and it was pretty popular, but it was a lot of people who were variety streamers, and they would come in for a day for a chill stream, and they would stream Stardew Valley, and maybe they'd do it a couple more times, but it was like a lot of people who were very in and out of the directory, and there were almost no streamers who were focused on Stardew Valley.
Mhm.
So myself and people that I'm still friends with, we like kind of created a community of people who were like really, really in love with Stardew Valley. And like that's all I streamed for a month or 2 months. So finding a directory like that, like that's like what we were talking about, researching the directory and seeing what is and isn't working. You can find a space even in a directory that's maybe a little bit crowded by finding what people want. And maybe people want like a stream they can come back to every single day and talk about this game that they just absolutely love.
I think
Yeah.
there's a lot to be said for finding a game with a passionate fan base.
Mhm.
Games
Yeah.
that still have active communities despite maybe not getting a lot of releases in a while. Like people who play The Elder Scrolls still adore The Elder Scrolls. People who play Fallout adore Fallout. Same thing
true.
with
Absolutely.
Dark Souls and Bloodborne. These games that may not have had a new release in a while, but people are still playing those old releases. I
Mhm.
always recommend for brand new streamers, go just take a look at the Fallout 3 directory. Guarantee you there's just a small handful of people playing it. Small handful of people playing it, handful of people watching it, but there's people watching it.
Mhm.
It's because they care about the game. They care about the longevity and the lineage. I really think that if a game has a relevant active community that loves the game, if you love the game too, you're going to have something in common with everybody that
Mhm.
comes in to the stream. People are
And you
going to
can do a
come in
little bit of
and
research
go,
on that too.
yeah.
Like you're gonna have people love watching people play Dark Souls for the first time. Love it.
Mhm.
Oh,
love
yeah.
it, love it, love it, love it, love
Adore
it.
it.
People hate streaming. What's that one with the Bone Dudes? Indie title, flat pixel art,
Hollow
with the
Knight.
story. What's it?
Hollow Knight.
No, it's got such a with Flowey.
Oh, Undertale.
Undertale.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
so
Undertale.
Yeah.
That is an incredibly dedicated fan base, but it can be a very toxic one.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the dedicated fan base is going to be very valuable. But you only have to do a little bit of research on this. It's things like Dark Souls that's always good. That's literally what I started streaming with.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say with playing these older games is one thing I think that's important is trying to make your stream stand out. Like being able to convey, especially using your title, what makes your stream unique with that playthrough. Because an older game, everyone has seen at this point Fallout 3, Skyrim, Fallout 4, Mass Effect, Dark Souls. So what are you doing that's unique? Is it a first-time playthrough? Do you have mods installed? Are you doing some cool mods? Are you doing a challenge run? convey in your title what is making your stream unique for an older game that has that community, because that's going to draw people in.
And your thumbnail, because I actually noticed the cat ears started. I wore them like I had a headband that had cat ears. I usually wear cat ears all the time on my stream. But I had a headband that would hold my hair back, and like my hair was really greasy and I didn't have time to wash it. So I put on the cat ears, and I did that a couple different times that I started to notice like my viewership seems to be higher when I'm wearing cat ears. And like maybe it's that people show up more, but like I could definitely see it being like people like being like, is she wearing cat ears, and clicking on my picture in the directory. So or like putting art on your screen, you know, anything can draw more people in.
That's true too.
Standing out visually can be something way over the top, like Dr. Disrespect, or it can be a pair of cat ears.
Right.
Either way, it works.
So there are a couple burning questions that always should be asked by fresher folk into the space. One is, should I ever, and if yes, when, to play a brand new AAA title? What's that?
Usually never day one. Especially, if it's a AAA title, then unless you're one of the top streamers, like, you know, you'd be in the first row, it's usually you want to avoid that. Like, if you get like, you know, 10 viewers or something, you're gonna get lost. And one way to find out is like, I mean, look at a title that comes out, like look at Metro, look at Apex, and look at where you would be right now. Would you be able to find yourself? It's what Spaceboy was saying earlier. Look at where your average viewer would be. And, you know, would you be able to find yourself in that category? Probably not with a new AAA title.
Yeah, I would say like maybe, but it's probably not the best choice. But if it's something that you like, one of the games that like maybe is like your favorite series of all, like it is something you've been looking forward to for years. Like, I don't think I've ever streamed a AAA title day one, but I can tell you almost certainly that when Animal Crossing comes out, I will be streaming that, because me and my community have been talking about that since I started streaming. Like, when is the new Animal Crossing going to come out? So even if I can't pull in people from the directory, I know my like hardcore fan base and viewers will be there, and they will be just as hyped as I am, and I want to like share that with them, even if I'm not pulling a great number of viewers.
I think for brand new titles, you like, if it's brand new and it's sought after and it's popular, you have to accept the people that find you, they're not very, very not likely coming in through that game's directory and searching for you. If you have 12 viewers and the top streamer has 12,000, you are literally picture the rows like pages. You're hundreds of pages away. They have to turn the page hundreds of times to find you, so they're not going to find you. But I think on occasion, if it's something you're comfortable with, if you know your community is going to love the game, sacrifice growth to play something they love. Like, there's nobody who found my channel and became a member of my community when I was streaming through Red Dead 2 on release.
Oh, right,
but
sure.
I've been waiting for that game for 10 years, and everyone in my community knows I'd been waiting for that game for 10 years, and we had a blast playing through it. Channel didn't grow, not even a tiny little bit, but we had fun. So I think if you play a AAA game on release, you effectively have to accept, unless you have a strong network of people who are going to help you out with hosts and raids and boost you up and all that. If you don't have a whole lot of viewers and you play a brand new game, you're going to sacrifice growth for fun. It's just the way it has to be.
I mean, unless you are a streamer that has built a community based on that game, like if another one's coming out, like let's say a Stardew Valley 2 comes out, like there's gonna be so many people playing that game, but it's probably gonna do really, really well for Corey because she has built a community of Stardew Valley fans. Like, people know she's gonna
Yeah.
be playing it. They're gonna want to like come in and watch her.
When it really helps too with things like that for raids too. Like if she's playing Stardew Valley 2, I'm going to be raiding the heck out of Coruscating. It's like knowing how much joy and excitement a friend of yours is having in that game, because it's like that's their core, that's their stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, heck yeah, I want to throw all of my weight over there. I also want them to be successful, but I want my people to be seeing that extraordinary level of joy. Like, you're not going to find that anywhere else on Twitch for like a month. Than like what's happening right there that day. That kind of stuff. That definitely plays well. So, what kinds of considerations go into when you do choose to play one of those games? A brand new title that's coming out, because there is variability to this, and I think it's a lot of directory awareness. I think that's a critical one. There are some games. The prediction of this can be challenging, surprisingly challenging. When a new game comes out, you can go like, "Oh, it's going to die off in a week," but for whatever reason, 2 weeks in, there's still people who have 10,000 viewers still playing the game. It's just like this giant well of huge viewership up at the top, where it's like, "Oh, my normal rule is to wait, whatever it is, like 9 days." And we're 14 days in, and it's still like a crazy looking directory. It might still be a bad time to do it.
Yeah.
Directory awareness is a really big one for that. Do you guys have any other considerations or commentary on that one too?
I think what was mentioned about if it's a game or a series your community already really enjoys.
Yeah.
I think like if you play nothing but Dark Souls, or you play a whole lot of Dark Souls and Sekiro is coming out next month, everybody who watches you play Dark Souls is ready for that game. Every single one of them. So that's the only one I can really think of consideration wise. I think there's a lot to be said for finding the time in between when it's completely booming and everybody's playing it and before it's dead.
Yes.
Because sometimes games just, they're gone like that. They blow up, they take over Twitch, and then
within
they're just
3 days
gone.
sometimes.
Oh yeah.
It could go from like there was a week of it's like everybody streaming it to, there's like 47 total people watching it. It can be bizarre.
It goes so fast.
And that's why it's important to be flexible. Like, be able to, cut a playthrough early or jump on a game early. Because games like, this week we had 3 AAA titles come out the same day. So a lot of us made those decisions, but you look at something like Far Cry. Far Cry is super open right now. It did not get a lot of hype that I expected to have more people playing it. So I feel like that died off early. That's a good time to jump into it. So don't be afraid to switch around your schedule to make better choices with your game selection. Check the directory every day because Twitch is super volatile, and look for any changes in the games you're keeping an eye on.
Check it at different times of the day too. Time slot can be down to there's a free hour where 3 top guys aren't streaming it, and you can fit in that hour. There can be tiny little increments of time that you can just move in and have your spot.
Yeah, and you may be the least aware of the directory's shape while you're streaming, because like what are you doing? You have that thing up and you're just like watching who's on there, like all that to know. You're playing the game, you're streaming, you're performing. So you're trying to utilize tools that can show you, what the viewership was at a certain time for the directory as a whole, maybe where your positioning was. And if you can have a mod in your channel, depending on how active and committed they might be, watching the directory and sort of maybe take some notes, like where was your position at what time? Can you look at that over a 3-day time period and see if it was always the same? Or if there was a lot of fluctuation there, how much you'd be able to utilize that information with your choices later. Maybe you would start with something else and then ease into that later, because you'll get boosted up at a certain point because of when other people log off and whatnot. Some considerations to be made there.
I'll often ask my mods, like, since I've been playing RuneScape for the last week, I'll just ask, hey guys, out of curiosity, where are we right now? Like, if you go to the RuneScape page, can you find me? Like, if you just pop in there, do you see me? Like, am I there at a glance? And there's a site I use called Sullygnome, SullYGnome. You can look at detailed figures for how many streamers are streaming a game at X time, how many viewers are watching a game at Y time. It's so incredibly detailed, and I try to use that quite a bit.
Honestly,
You gotta-
sometimes like during the middle of my stream, I'll like go and pull up the directory and look and be like,
You
oh,
do?
well, yeah.
I do.
I'll be like,
I do too.
I see why I'm not pulling in as many viewers as I thought,
Mm-hmm.
because like there's 4 people who usually don't stream this game at this time and they're ahead of me.
Mhm.
And then like if I'm thinking about switching, like I might even go check out the directory I'm thinking about switching to and be like, oh yeah, I can drop 20 viewers and still be at the very top of this directory.
Mhm.
And that sounds like fun anyway, so let's do it. And yeah, I try not to like it doesn't really pull me out of my stream, but it's easy to just take a second and I can leave that tab open and maybe refresh it later if I decide I want to switch later or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do have a couple questions for our Q&A. First comes from AOB, who asks, when entering a new game / directory, how do you judge solid growth? We actually had a couple people ask this question. So how do you judge if a game is doing well for you?
How
Viewership?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
But go ahead.
often am I seeing a new name in chat?
Mhm.
How frequently am I seeing a hey or a hi or hello from somebody I don't know? Because I don't have view count visible while I'm streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can be hard for me to gauge viewership playing a new game because I know a lot of people are just there because they showed up when I was playing one game and they stuck around. I when I'm not looking at stats and figures like on Sully Gnome after stream and stuff like that, it really does, a whole lot of it for me boils down to how often am I seeing somebody new in the chat. And that doesn't account for lurkers or anything,
Mhm.
but if there's I know if there's, a couple people coming in through the chat and saying something, there's even more just coming in and watching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in addition to that, like over like a week, like
Mhm.
if I get even one new regular from a stream, like one person who comes back for a couple different streams, like I'm like, yes, this is great. Because sometimes you get a lot of new people saying hi and then they never say anything ever again.
Mhm.
And that's like it's good that you're getting people to say hello, but maybe they just don't click with your community or your stream or what.
Yeah.
But getting like if I know that I'm getting people to come back, that is super important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much
I
retention
do the same
is there?
thing. Yeah, I do the same thing as Spaceboy. I don't look at my viewer count. So for me, my judge is the chat as well. Not
Yep.
only if new people are talking, but even if chat is just like really active, I think that helps. It may not even reflect well on your numbers, but it makes me enjoy the stream a little bit more, and it means they're really enjoying what's happening too. So I take that as like okay, like they're into this, and that's probably doing well for me too. So
For me, it's definitely a little variable.
yeah.
New, well, no, not new. Strategy simulation games, stuff like City Skylines, Anno 1800, one that's coming out, Tropico 6, things like that tend to, and Total War games tend to have much less interaction for me. With games like that, I want to look at my hard metrics. For everything else, I don't really care about the metrics as much as those other points of, and this one's it's harder to track. It's just internalized. How many new people are you seeing speak up, and how many times do you see them back tomorrow?
Mhm.
Because when you get more people speaking up for the first time, and then you see them, again tomorrow, you're like, oh hey, you're back again, and then with a nice,
That's such a
welcome
cool
back.
feeling.
I know.
I don't think I'll ever get over
That's
it.
nailing it right
Right.
there. While at the same time seeing a lot of engagement from my own community, seeing their interest in the game, and or finding ways to communicate just normal social stuff in a way that's like really vibrant. For whatever reason, that can happen more in some games than others. I don't know why, but when I see that happening, I'm like, yes, that's good. Anybody new who's coming is going to see that and feel more interested in engaging. The people that I care about the most already, because they've already been here and I know them, they're really interested in what's going on too. So this is good. This is what I want. That is the heart of my brand, is people finding a place and feeling comfortable in that and socializing with me and with each other. So that's what this is. Therefore, this game is doing well for me.
Nail on the head.
Yeah. I think another loose metric can be follower count. It may not directly translate to viewers, but before I had this thing with my Streamlabs where it would show me a little notification whenever someone followed. So when I turned my viewer count off, I gauged how well I was doing in directory by like that notification just showing up in the corner. It doesn't show up on my stream. It just gives me an idea of like, okay, so I am being discovered probably from the directory.
Right.
People are following this channel. So I would say like follower count, viewer count, and seeing people engage in your chat are the three main things that I
think
look
you
at.
can't actually see that on your stats page.
Chat activity?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Well,
you can see like unique chatters.
That as well. But what I mean is you can see how many people are returning from the follower page versus finding you from the directory.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super,
and so that could be a big... If you're seeing a lot of people find you from the directory and not a lot of follows, might not be convincing a lot of people that it's a fun channel to watch for any number of reasons. Right. You might be having an off day. You know yourself in this regard, but it might also be that this is not the type of game that you're very entertaining with. You have to be self-aware with this one. And do some assessment. If you're playing a game and you're getting a lot more people than you normally are back from your follower list, ooh, that's interesting. You're suddenly fresh again to a lot of the people who are already interested in your content and maybe dropped off for any number of reasons. What's that about? How can I capitalize on that a little bit more? I've already done the work to convince these people to want to watch me. They are already following, and now they're coming back in droves. That's wonderful. What is it about this game that is doing that?
Identifying why you're bringing them back. I like that.
Mm-hmm. We have a question from Wade who asks, if you have to pull a game due to it not being fun for you, do you try to push while telling your community? Basically, if you're not having fun but chat is, have you ever pushed further into a game?
Yes. I find a way to have fun. The literal worst game I've ever streamed ended up being a very good streaming experience because of the sort of the mockery and critique that we had of it was literally a sponsored event too. And so that became its own sort of internal meme in the channel for our commentary. And the community engaged in a very unique way with that. And I hated playing the game. Hated it. It was the worst game I've ever streamed. But it became a very fun engagement by itself. So, there are other factors that I think add value to that.
Generally, I'd say if I'm bored, like if I'm genuinely apathetic and simply not finding joy in the game or any emotion whatsoever, no. I'll be like, hey guys, I'm not having a good time. But if I'm finding it frustrating or upsetting or so bad that it's evoking some sort of reaction out of me, absolutely. Like, I don't know how to pronounce the word, Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude.
People love watching somebody get upset, and if I'm playing something that is just evoking a terrible negative reaction out of me, hey, it's still a reaction, and that's still real emotion.
Absolutely,
so absolutely.
Yeah, I've definitely done that. I'd say usually there has to be some just my community is having fun. Like maybe there's also like I'm not really having fun with this game, but also don't really feel like I'm gonna have fun with anything else. There's just nothing at the time that I think is really gonna be great. Or like when I was pushing for partnership and I really needed those numbers, there were nights when I just had to like be like, I know people are gonna have fun if I play this, so I am gonna either like find a way to have fun, or maybe I will mostly just chat all night with people and like click around in the game and build some dumb stuff in The Sims. And hopefully that'll work.
And that's a unique situation with streaming too, right? It's like sometimes the fun isn't about the game, it's about the performance. It's about the way you're chatting it up with your community. The game could be like completely uninteresting to you, but you're turning it, or chat's turning it into an event.
Right.
That then becomes its own comical, farcical kind of a thing that you never expected. You're like, this game is bland and dull, but finding these little weird intricacies in the game, and chat's commenting on it, and then I'm performing to that. I'm taking that and rolling with it. That can become its own separate thing.
Playing
Yeah.
terrible games can be really fun.
Wonderful.
If you guys have ever seen W. Shand,
Mm.
he
Mhm.
just plays so many absolute garbage games,
Yeah.
and it is like the funniest thing you will
Oh,
ever
yeah.
watch.
Alaskan Savage as well. He has like
Mhm.
some like terrible game night or something, and usually A Green sends him a bunch of really bad horror games, and then he's a stand-up comedian, so he sits there and he's got the most hilarious flow of mockery as he's going, and it's next level. Like you'd never be able to really get that in the same way from the most polished and refined and fun to play game.
Right.
He can't. He's
Mhm.
not gonna perform in that same way for that stuff.
Yeah.
So bad it's good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard of this game, but there's a game called The Calling 2 that came out.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
I remember you
I think
playing
we
this.
talked about this maybe
Yeah.
last time.
It's your most viewed clip.
Yeah, I was one of the top Calling 2 players of all time because I was
Yeah,
one of
sorry.
like 17 people that ever played the game. And the thing about it was so bad, but it was doing so well for the stream because no one else bothered to touch it, and everyone wanted to see how bad it was. It was like watching a train wreck. Like
Because it was all anybody was talking about on Twitter too, right? So
Yeah,
they were like,
I
I've got to
right.
go watch this train wreck, and there were like 5 people streaming it.
Yeah, it was a horror, and I mean, I spent the whole time like just laughing at how bad it was, and everyone else was having a great time. So yeah, you know, it wasn't like the game doesn't exist anymore, by the way, so you can't even stream it if you wanted to. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those moments where it's like, I'm having fun because it's just so terrible to play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like if it's just about how you feel and how your energy works with the game. It could be a good game, it can be a bad game. You can hate it or you know, have a fun time with it, or you can love it and it be a game that no one else likes. But like if you're just not having fun and you're just, you know, bored of it, like Spaceboy said, like people can see that. That's not fun for them. Like
Yeah.
no one's having fun. Why are you playing that?
One of my favorite quotes is from a streamer named It's Tina. If you're
love
entertained, if you're entertained, you'll probably be entertaining. If
Yeah.
you're enjoying what you're doing, it's going to make it so much more likely that someone is going to identify with that. If they see you having fun with something that they have fun with, so congrats, you have something in common with that viewer immediately, and
Yep.
that's a great thing to keep in mind.
It's one of the things that I've loved about my first day in Anthem Friday with its launch. I had many people saying, "I don't even have to ask you how much you like this game. I can see it
Yeah.
on your face." With
I love
almost the
that.
exact same like phrasing and commentary. It's like, dude, I can see it written across your face. Oh my god, I've never seen you smile so much
Mhm.
in a stream, stuff like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
We do have one more question before we end for the day. I am Flip asks, can you be consistent if you mainly stream on 1-2 console platforms, assuming low variety in the games you stream? So like streaming PS4 only games or Xbox or console focused games.
It's achievable with the Switch because of how unique those
Niche
games are.
the games are.
Yeah.
And they're only available there,
Mhm.
and like that style of game is very uniquely Nintendo.
Right. Yeah,
I
there's a
wasn't
lot of
sure.
streamers that are like known as Nintendo streamers, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like known as like what, an Xbox game streamer? Like there's
Yeah.
not enough console exclusives that
No.
would have you
The
know,
quality
a
of
community.
PS4 exclusives are
Yeah.
definitely out just off the
Mhm.
charts. But I still think, you know, it's like for the most part, those are they're story driven, and it's a couple playthroughs. I mean, like how many times are you going to play through God of War? I mean, it's a god tier game, it's a masterwork, but you know, you collect those in and spread that content around. You can only get so many hours out of that at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Right.
And I'm not entirely sure where the value would be of it being PS4 specific,
Mhm.
except for the incidental factor of those masterworks being on the PS4. That's
Right.
like secondary to it. The draw isn't, hey, I'm a PS4 streamer or a
Exactly.
PlayStation exclusive streamer, so much as these games are masterworks and they're on the PS4.
Yeah, I don't think the console you're playing or streaming on is going to be part of your identity. I don't think there's I don't know if there's anybody who, I mean, obviously some people are very strictly loyal to Sony or strictly loyal to Microsoft. I would say it is the vast minority of people. There's not going to be a lot of people out there who are specifically looking for you because you're playing Sony games or because you're playing Xbox games. Nintendo definitely the standout from that, but I don't think your developer can really be your channel's identity. I think it's just more of a given that you're playing a game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's gonna do it for us today, guys. This was a really, really helpful episode. I feel like I feel like I'm gonna reference this a lot. Be like, check this out. Like when you're selecting your games, watch this video. So Corey, Space, thank you guys so much for joining us. Let us know where we can find you and what you're up to.
Because I'm okay with that.
Oh my god, the thing didn't update. Wait, hold on. Wait, no, I can fix this, guys. Give me a chance.
Then I'm Lance. Is that
no?
Dude,
I
I am
love
down.
Lance.
His videos are so good.
2 seconds,
Yeah.
I will
professional
take it.
streamer.
Lance's
Okay,
Lance's videos
you
are
see
great.
nothing. Okay, we're good, guys. All right. So, anyways, like I was saying, Corey, where can we find you?
You can find
social
me. Yeah, it's right there on the screen.
Right
down
there, guys. It's right below.
I'm Coruscating on Twitter and Twitch. I stream games. Usually 8:30 Pacific time is when I start. Like to hang out, have fun. I post way too much on Twitter. I'm sorry, but there are lots of cat pictures if you like that. So thank you guys for having me.
Our absolute pleasure. And
So-
and what are you streaming right now? Did you say?
I've been streaming Subnautica lately,
That's right.
and The Sims always, and
Okay.
cat pictures also.
Spaceboy, what you got?
So I'm over on Twitter at I'm a Spaceboy. I try not to use Twitter a whole lot anymore because it's having a stream of consciousness from so many different people directly in front of your face. I don't think is the healthiest thing. Political news, cute cats. Someone is in dire straits. Just too much at once. However,
Are
I do
you
like
are you
Twitter.
quoting my feed right
Yeah,
now?
that's
Is that
mine
my-
too.
Reporting everyone's feed. I think that's life on Twitter. Yeah, I go live just about every day. I take one day off a week. I never schedule it. 4 p.m. Eastern. You can find me pretending to be an elderly murderous sociopath, not a psychopath. We did the test. My roleplay character is very much a sociopath,
Good to
but
know.
not quite a psychopath. So
Precision. I like this.
It took a lot of work to figure it out, but yeah, I do that a lot. I make stupid voices, and I just kind of play whatever I really want to. Right now, it's just roleplay and RuneScape.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
I'm the Hunter Wilds, and I'm all
No, you're not.
about. Okay, the jury's out, but I have been accused of being the Hunter Wild. I tend to focus on brand spanking fresh new titles starting on launch day, doing 12-hour streams back to back. Like that's a focus of mine as a brand and a streamer now, and I love it, which means currently it is Anthem. It is nonstop Anthem. I may not take my weekend this week and just keep streaming Anthem because not only is it incredibly fun and hard to put down, but it's also performing very well for me. So these considerations, you got to be a little nimble, a little agile. You can find me at twitch.tv/thehunterwild, as well as on Twitter at thehunterwildtv, and on Instagram at thehunterwild. And I love posting in all of those places. You might love seeing me there. What about you, Loco?
So I just want to say before you guys leave, I should do this before I do the outros, but before you guys leave, there's Your Brand Your Business right after this.
Yes.
Literally the second the stream ends, Your Brand Your Business is back with an episode about tax prep. So if you're a streamer and you're like, how do I do taxes? You should definitely just stay here. Don't go anywhere because
It's so valuable.
we have Warbnol and Joel Shang joining us for an awesome, informative episode. It's totally worth your time. Free advice about taxes and things. It's amazing.
From literal
Anyways,
professionals.
from professional people. professional humans.
Imagine being one of
they-
those.
They
Yeah.
both do this work for me. For the record, they do. This is. I work with them. I could not recommend them enough. They're fantastic.
So yeah, stay tuned for that, guys. Anyways, I'm Loco. You can find me at twitch.tv/LOWCO, twitter.com/Loco2525. I am currently playing Metro Exodus. We just started it today. Yes, today is Monday. So I did just start playing it today. I've been playing through that. Days are hard. And if you guys enjoyed the show, you guys can follow the Twitch channel because we do this every single week. We have the VODs going up on YouTube, so if you miss anything or you just want to catch highlights from each episode of the stream scene, that is up on YouTube. So definitely make sure to check that out. We are StreamerSquare everywhere.
Patreon?
We do. We have a new feature on Patreon for our tier 3s and higher. We have a personal channel review. We've been asked about this a lot. And, for people that aren't sure if they want or need coaching yet, but they kind of want to get like a rundown of feedback for their channel. They're like, okay, give it to me. What do I need to fix? What's going on? It's kind of like the Stream Doctor, but in like a document form. So whether you can't make the show or, you want a different set of eyes so they can load your channel, you should definitely check it out on Patreon. It's really good value. If you do the higher tiers, you get that included with it anyways. So
Yeah, that's true.
Check it out. Where is that? That's on Patreon, Patreon, if you guys want to check it out. So yeah, that's going to do it for us, guys. We will be back next week. Stay tuned for your brand new business right after this. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been The Stream Scene.
Wild. We
are
are StreamerSquare. We're veteran streamers who know what it's like to start with a powerful dream, but also with 0 viewers and followers. It can be incredibly challenging and feel surprisingly lonely, especially when it seems like you have to do and learn everything yourself.
That's why I started StreamerSquare back in 2014 when I was trying to figure out how to stream. There wasn't much information out there. I wanted to create a central resource for people who are trying to learn how to stream, but also for more experienced creators who are trying to take their stream to the next level. And now, I'm teaming up with the Hunter Wild as well as HB Fox to really gear up what we can do for passionate and driven streamers like you.
So you can learn what works, what doesn't, and why in order to create your own success without having to make the same mistakes as everyone else. We want to help you work smarter, not harder, and to see greater success as early as possible.
We're all content creators. All of us know how challenging it can be to get rewarded for the countless hours, the blood, the sweat, and the tears that go into our passions. At StreamerSquare, we're no exception.
We want to put something wonderful out into the world and see people fall in love with it, grow from it, come back, and help us create more of it. And that's only possible when you throw yourself into the mix, because you are an integral part of what we do.
So what is Patreon? Why does it matter? And how does it all work? Patreon gives content creators like us a way to get paid for all the hard work we put into our free content and resources, like our expansive info-rich website and deeply informative podcast streams, all while letting our patrons get some incredibly unique rewards and the gratitude they deserve. You can choose from any of our reward tiers that speaks to you the most, as well as fit your budget in order to become an official patron and gain access to patron-exclusive goodies, features, and content.
We've got everything from a low-commitment thank you tier all the way up to personal coaching for your stream, and even more coming in the future. And if you need to tone down or ramp up your patronage, you can do so with ease to maintain complete control and get exactly what you need. You can change your patron level at will.
Patrons like you are vital to what we do. As a patron, you're not only fueling our creative engines and significantly helping to fund the entirety of StreamerSquare, but you're also allowing us to seize upon our singular vision of crafting the best opportunities and chances of success for streamers.
As you help us hit our goals, we get to empower StreamerSquare together to build out even bigger and better rewards while continuing to keep our existing content and resources fresh and on point. So whether you're a content creator yourself or have a desire to help us co-create vibrant careers For all the streamers out there, Patreon is a fantastic and easy approach. Become a patron and let us do the heavy lifting.
Let us work with you to make something incredible starting right now. Seize the opportunity to use anything and everything we can do to give you the most power and control over your stream and your entire career as a content creator. We're going to do everything we can to take the tens of thousands of hours of streaming experience and package it up for you.
Make your own luck, get the most out of your grind, learn from our mistakes and successes, and carve your own path right alongside us. Pick one of our Patreon reward tiers right now to take your next big step towards success. And let's create a stream the internet can't ignore.
Back in... I don't know the words.
This is how we do it. Bam, 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 bam.
Patreon gives content...
Your patronage in the future farts on a pickle.
This hair. Do not do that. Do not do that hair.
We should probably have like up reels. What do you call those things? I don't know.